guys, this is my very first video on the channel featuring myself talking to you. In this video I'm going to explain to you from start to finish on how to create this little tiny planet effect. All you need is a basic camera, it can even be your phone. I'm using my Motorola One Action to take some shots and also using my DSLR camera, the Nikon D3300, but that's all up to you. No drones, nothing. And then you need Photoshop, but I'm pretty sure it will work in GIMP or any other open source software as well, because it's a really basic effect. So enough of talking, we're just gonna go out and shoot some photos. I'll see you back in the office. So we're out here in the woods. Just heading to an open area where I'm gonna take some panoramic shots. As you can hear, it's pretty windy day. This wind wasn't here this morning. Taking a shortcut through the woods here. An important rule of thumb to create these tiny planet shots is to create a panoramic photo. It has to be a horizontal panoramic shot. The most important thing is that the sides of the photo either need to be more or less the same, or you need to create a seamless texture on your own. More on that in the edit. But that's one important rule, because the end of the photo on the left side and the end of the photo on the right side need to fit to each other. Otherwise you will see a big seam showing you how you created the photo. Now, I've already told you that it's important to create seamless parts on either side of the photo. It's also important when you're not using a drone to just keep it simple. Don't take the panoramic shot using an advanced landscape, for instance featuring a lot of tree, or too dense photo, because it will be way harder to create a believing effect. What you could do to make the photo more interesting is to stand in the middle of a path or a road, if it's not too busy, and take the panoramic shot over there. It will be way better. Look, this is a plain, but there are way too many trees to sell the effect basically. Also guys, this is my very first POV / tutorial video. What do you guys think? Should I do more of these kind of videos? Should I deal with other subjects? Just let it know down in the comments below, or send me a DM message with suggestions. The sun will be in our back, which is an advantage. Sometimes the sun is really interesting to use as a subject in the photo itself. I really like to portray the sun, especially with the God rays, but yeah, it's not always easy to do that. Okay, so we arrived at our location. I hope the cows won't disturb us and won't attack us, but no problem. We're staying here. So as you clearly can see, this is a large open area with on the left hand side some trees and on the right hand side some trees. The foreground, I know, it's basically just a plain of grass and some shrubs, but basically I want to keep it simple for this example and for this tutorial. So as I promised, you can take panoramic shot with either your smartphone or a simple basic DSLR. You don't need any expensive gear. So first I'm gonna shoot with my Motorola One action smartphone. With a simple shake, it will open the camera app and I can point and shoot. But first we need to select panoramic shot. Going to the grid and then selecting panorama gives you this option. You can hold your phone horizontally to cover more area. And what's most important is to expose to the brightest area of your photo. That way you avoid overexposed shots. What I'm gonna do is start shooting here and press the shutter button and just move horizontally. Try to avoid shaking for too much, but you can clearly see the magic happen. The phone automatically stitches all photos to each other. I'm gonna take another photo featuring these trees as well. You see, in this example I exposed for the darkest part, which are the trees, and the photo is totally useless because it's overexposed. So that's why you should always focus on the brightest sides. In case your image is seamless, it's always easier because you won't see the cut between the left and the right side of the photo. Now I'm going to do the same with my DSLR camera. Whenever you want to achieve this effect with your DSLR camera, you can do this on two different ways. The first way is use the dial here and set your camera in manual. Full manual mode is always better. But there's one disadvantage for you taking a panoramic shot. It requires you way more work and post to stitch all images together. One piece of advice, as I'm not gonna do this, is you have to set your white balance not to automatically, but to a fixed value. For instance, cloudy in this case. The reason why is if you point and shoot, it will always adjust your white balance. It will be way harder to correct the colors in post per frame you took. But we are going to be lazy for this shot and switch the dial over to effects. Whenever you pick effects, I'm going to go to live view. I'm using the LCD screen now. You can clearly see I have to expose for the brightest area again, like this. If I now point and shoot, it's basically the same as with the smartphone. You simply need to move and hold the camera steady. It will take a shot. As you clearly can see, I don't have the trees on the right side now of the image, which will be way harder to create the tiny planet effect in post. So I've hit a road, a little road, which is perfect for shooting another panoramic shot. You can either shoot directly into the sun or shoot with the sun in our back. Would be a perfect location for flying out the drone as well, but that will be for another video, because I have some crazy ideas with these, but first I'd like to see a bit more views on my normal video stuff. So enough of shooting, it's time to head back. So we are back. We will do now some basic editing through Lightroom, but the other open source alternative is using Darktable. Darktable is an open source alternative program similar to Adobe Lightroom, but it's entirely free. It can even be used to edit raw images. Just one slight remark, when using the panoramic function on your DSLR camera or your smartphone, all edits, all stitched images will rendered as a JPEG image and not as a raw file. So that's one important thing. If you want to deal with raw images, you will have to shoot all frames by hand and stitch them in post together. In this first shot, this shot was taken with my camera, with my DSLR camera. I'm just doing some basic adjustments regarding lighting conditions, because due to the strong and harsh lights during that day, we have to reduce the overexposed areas a little bit. I'm just putting down some presets on the photos so they are all edited the same. What I mostly do is edit first in Lightroom using the panorama only, and then move to Photoshop and there create the composition of the tiny planet, and then in the end I will go back to Lightroom for some final tweaks regarding the color grading. As editing in Photoshop might be quite difficult and a bit challenging in the beginning, I'm only showing you two different ways, one with a smartphone panoramic photo and one with the DSLR panoramic shot, just to show you what the possibilities are and what's important to keep in mind during the edit and when going out to shoot panoramas for creating tiny planets. Basically, every single edit works the same way. You start by dragging your edited panoramic shot into Photoshop, and then you can start by cropping out the working area basically, so you have a big square. The ratio should be 1:1, and then basically you flip over the taken photo vertically, so basically you're looking to it upside down. And then you go to filter and then you select polar coordinates, and then when selecting the first option it will render out a tiny planet effect, but you will still see a harsh line from the left and right side where they come together in the photo. What you also can see is that on each corner of the frame you will have some motion blur, and you will see some lines, and that's because basically in a normal horizontal panoramic shot you lose some details in the sky because there is a hole in the sky when rendering a 360 tiny planet. What's also important is to remove the seam, and there are different ways to do that. On the first way, you can try to use the clone stamp tool and the healing spot brush tool, or you can also copy the entire rendered image by duplicating that layer just by pressing Ctrl J on the keyboard, and then rotate the entire photo around the center, and then you can basically reuse a part of the image and do some magic with some layer masking, and then you can basically remove the seam as well. It might get a little bit tricky when doing this around trees, so that's why maybe for a first attempt it's easier to just take a photo without any trees at all, or just without any trees at either side of the frame. You can always edit in later some trees if you want, but it's way more easy if you have a simple shot. Also, the foreground element on the horizontal panoramic shot needs to be easy and not too detailed, because the tiny planet will be created around that part, so that will be the center of the planet, like you can see here in the frame. So that's it for the first tiny planet. Now I'm moving on to the panoramic shot I've taken with my Motorola One Action smartphone. And in this photo I will show you a different approach, where I just remove the tall tree in the sky on the left side of the photo by using the clone stamp tool. That way it's way more easy to have a simple background basically and stitch the left side and the right side of the frame to each other. So now you will see I will do the same thing on the right side of the frame. So you basically have an empty sky on the left and the right side of the frame, only a small color difference. And after applying the polar coordinate filter, you will see that we have a more clean stitch from the left and right side. And then with some magic with the healing brush tool, you can remove the seam on the grass plane as well. And yeah, well, you still need to adjust here and there the horizontal line as well, because if you have no flat horizontal line, it will be way harder to adjust the ground in the tiny planet. It's a bit of trial and error, and sometimes it will work and sometimes it just won't work at all. In this photo I also put some clouds by painting them in manually. Basically what I did is use the brush tool. I selected the blue color with a color picker from the original photo, and I painted in some strokes here and there. After applying the radial blur tool, you basically get the shape of some clouds, which will fit perfectly to the tiny planet effect. So as you can see, both approaches when using a photo of your DSLR or your smartphone are the same. It all depends on how you took the photo and what the subject was. As a bonus to this tutorial, I will edit the last photo I took with the golden flowers with my smartphone. And I will apply the reversed effect. So instead of creating a globe, a tiny planet, we will create a hole basically. It's a bit like Inception, but the reversed effect of the tiny planet. Now first you can see I did some clone stamping, used the healing brush tool to remove these disturbing elements in the foreground, these little poles. Because of the flower field, it's quite easy to remove them by just using that tool. You don't need to work too detailed, simply because you lose quite some detail when applying the tiny planet effect. So whereas you have to flip over the photo vertically when you want to achieve a tiny planet, you don't need to do that. So what we will do is convert the photo to a smart object and then basically stretch out the entire photo so you get an image with a 1:1 ratio. 1:1 ratio is always important. So after stretching it out, we go to filter, distort, and then select again polar coordinates. Get a new window. We choose again the same option, but now you will see we create again a circle, but now it's in reversed order. So now it's no planet but a hole basically, because the sky is in the center of the frame. We still need to clean up some of the seams, and that can be done by using the clone stamp tool and the healing brush tool. And that's how you create a hole. I did do some magic with it and filled out the gaps of the backgrounds, each corner, so the left and right side, by just simulating it's basically a hole in the ground. I added black background to the frame and played a bit around with the color grading of the photo. This was entirely done in Photoshop. That's about it. These are 3 different edits on how to create a tiny planet effect in Photoshop. As a bonus, I will also show you a brief overview on how you can achieve this effect using GIMP, because the workflow is basically the same. You also can go to filter, then render a coordination effect, and the polar coordination effect will be exactly the same. And then you can retouch the scene and remove everything and post again. And that's about it, guys. This was the tutorial on how to create a tiny planet effect using either Photoshop or GIMP by using your smartphone and taking a panoramic shot. It's a bit tricky in the beginning. It might take a few attempts in the beginning to get the perfect shot to edit. Even I sometimes fail. It was harder than I expected for making this tutorial as well, but you can create some really cool effects. If you like this video, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment down in the description below. This was my first video and I hope many new videos will come in the future. Let me know what you guys want to learn more in the future, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Bye!